Some leaps in technology don't just move you forward, they move you out of reach. You could row your boat there, or you can take off entirely. And if you sit around daydreaming, you might get left behind. The leap isn't linear. It's exponential.
Better tools don't just improve accuracy.
They open a universe of possibility.
It's not a fair fight, but that's the point. Don't just play the game, change it. Unlock your competitive advantage with the leading AI platform for customer experience.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the session, What CX Orgs Must Get Right in 2026, Building a Human and AI Workforce. I'm Amanda Flieger, part of the revenue marketing team here at Cresta, and I will be your moderator for today's session. And it's an exciting one. Fun fact, the video that you just saw on your screen was created entirely using AI by the Cresta team. We thought it would be a fun way to kick off today's session. And with that, I am going to bring on stage with me Devin Michael, VP of Product Marketing here at Cresta, who will share a little bit about Cresta and anchor us in today's conversation with Pascal. Devin, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am incredibly excited and privileged, honestly, to hold this fireside chat with the one and only Pascal Bornet, who I will introduce in just a second. But before we get started, I did want to take a moment to introduce Cresta and give you a quick 2-minute overview of who we are and what we do. Cresta was founded out of the Stanford AI Lab, and we were built by early researchers from OpenAI. Our CEO, Ping Wu, founded Google CCAI and Vertex AI platform. And so as you can imagine, unlike many companies out there who have pivoted to become AI companies over the last few years, we are truly Gen AI native. We've been building with transformer models, large and small language models, since well before ChatGPT signaled this absolutely monumental shift that we're experiencing right now to the broader public. And we have a unique depth of experience at the intersection of cutting edge AI and customer experience and contact center operations. We've been recognized as a leader by numerous publications and analysts, most recently receiving the top position in the Forrester Wave for conversation intelligence solutions in the contact center. And we've raised nearly $300 million in funding from leading firms like Andreessen, Sequoia, Greylock, World Innovation Lab, as well as strategic partners like Accenture, Qualcomm, and many more. And we have the privilege of serving some of the largest, most distinguished companies in the world, like United Airlines, Intuit, and Cox Communications, just to name a few examples. So with that little introduction about who we are, let's talk a little bit about what we do. Cresta is a unified AI platform for human and AI agents. And as you can imagine, that's highly relevant to the conversation we're going to be having today with Pascal. But what we really built our platform to do is help companies turn every conversation into a competitive advantage by transforming their customer experience, by operating more efficiently, and by accelerating revenue growth. It's with that mission in mind that we built the platform around the 3 core solution pillars that you see here on the slide. The first is all about unlocking a really deep and actionable understanding of what's actually happening in the conversations and the interactions that you have with your customers and your future customers. But not just understanding what's happening, understanding why it's happening. That means insight into what's driving the contacts in the first place. That means predicting outcomes like CSAT and resolution very accurately across 100% of conversations instead of having to rely on surveys. And that means uncovering the root causes of those issues and the behaviors that actually drive better results against those outcomes and the KPIs that actually matter to your business. All of that in this analyze pillar that you see on the slide forms the basis for how we evaluate conversations, how we coach and guide human agents in real time, and how we design more effective AI agents. So think of it as a foundation. The next pillar is automating the right conversations with AI agents. And these are AI agents that are designed based on that real conversation data. They can solve really complex problems. They can communicate very naturally in a way that sounds and feels humans. But critically, they're surrounded by very sophisticated guardrails, testing, and oversight. So you can actually trust them to get the job done at scale in a position that represents your business to the customer that matters so much to your success. And third, is all about augmenting every aspect of human work in the contact center. On the agent side, that's things like real-time transcription as a foundation, dynamic guidance and hints to drive better outcomes and compliance, helping agents navigate the conversation in the right ways and replicate the behaviors of top performers. It's knowledge served up at exactly the right moments to help them solve problems quicker and more consistently. And it's workflow automation that saves time during and after every conversation. For your supervisors and your quality teams, it's using AI to evaluate key behaviors and compliance across 100% of conversations and giving them a really clear view into the performance of every agent, every team, and then using AI-driven coaching that's personalized and aligned to what really drives results to increase performance and ensure that customers are getting the best possible experience every time. All of these solutions sit on top of your existing infrastructure. They're deeply integrated with your data and with your knowledge, and they work together to deliver compounding value. But I do want to just highlight that you can really start anywhere along the spectrum. Some of our customers start with just one of these pillars or even a subset of one of these pillars. But in the fullest of time, our most strategic and our most successful customers have transformed their business more fully by connecting insights, augmentation, and automation. So, said otherwise, and getting to the topic of today, I promise I will shut up about Cresta in just a second. They use Cresta as an operating system to power a hybrid workforce, a workforce that's made up of both human and AI agents. And that's exactly why I am so excited to dig into that topic today with one of the true luminaries on this topic, Pascal Bornet. So with that, I want to welcome Pascal to the stage, and I'll just say a few words to introduce Pascal here, and then I'll let you say a few words if you want to add anything to the introduction there, Pascal. But for our audience, Pascal is a globally recognized expert and thought leader in intelligent automation and AI. He founded and led the AI and automation practice at McKinsey and at Ernst & Young, and he has over 20 years of experience driving complex digital transformation through multiple major paradigm shifts in the technology landscape. He's also the author of 3 best-selling books, including more recently Irreplaceable, The Art of Standing Out in the Age of Artificial Intelligence, and Agentic Artificial Intelligence. And he's incredibly passionate about making our world more human through AI and technology. So you're going to hear a little bit about what that actually means today. How can we become more human with AI? I'm excited to dig in with you, Pascal. But lastly, he emphasizes that organizations that are leading in customer and employee experience are significantly more profitable, and he helps companies harness AI to drive both performance and purpose. Pascal, welcome. We are so glad to have you here. I am incredibly excited for this conversation.
Devon, thanks for having me. That's my pleasure. And as you said, the most important point is the last one, I think. I'm passionate about those technologies and how they can transform businesses. Yeah, very excited for this conversation.
Excellent. Well, we have a lot to get through, so let's dive right into it. Pascal, there is just this palpable urgency across the business world to accelerate AI adoption right now, right? It is a board level mandate at this point for, maybe safe to say all companies. And one of the domains where it's happening the fastest is customer experience and contact centers. And I think unsurprisingly, a lot of the focus and a lot of the public conversation is on automation. We talked about that as one of the key pillars. And in fact, that's one of the questions we tend to get right up front when we're talking to potential new customers. They ask us things like, what percentage of conversations is it possible to completely automate today? And when will that number be 100%? Is that 18 months away? We've heard this we're 2 years away, every 2 years for multiple sets of 2 years now, I would say. But I think you share a very similar viewpoint to ours. And that's the belief that focusing on automation alone, focusing on automation in a vacuum is the wrong strategy. So can you tell us a little bit about why that is? What formed that perception for you?
Yes, completely agree with you, Devon. Very often companies come to me. So I do a lot of consulting, and they come to me and they tell me, Pascal, what can we automate? And then second, they think, what can we let to our people? I think we should think really differently about that. So automation solves one problem: cost reduction on high volume, repetitive tasks.
Mm-hmm.
But as most of us know, CX in this domain, the highest value is not there. It's about building loyalty. It's about building trust. It's about building revenue. That is the outcome of all this. So I think there are three distinct types of activities. So one of them is about automation. So AI-led, human-supervised activities, typically FAQ responses, order status inquiries, password resets, very simple, very easy to automate.
Mhm.
The second bucket is augmentation. So everything that can be human-led and AI-assisted. So think about complex complaint resolution, think about escalation handling, personalized offers. And finally, the third bucket is about activities that are supported. So basically, human-led and AI-enhanced. Think here
Mhm.
about strategy. Think about innovation, finding new ideas, improving, and so on.
Mhm.
And the mistake that most companies that I'm helping make is treating everything as a candidate for automation, including the interaction
Right.
that build loyalty, trust, and revenue, as we said before. So I think the right question is not what can we automate, but really how to create the value by combining humans and AI agents in the same system. So a
Yep.
shift from efficiency focus to value creation. That's the key thing here.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And, it's a happy accident that our points of view align so similarly. I promise you, to the folks in the audience, we did not create our three pillars slide with Pascal's consulting. It existed before we ever met him.
We can disagree. We can disagree as well.
Of course. Well, maybe we'll find one or two reasons to disagree over
Yeah,
the
I'm
course of this conversation. But on this point, we really do agree. I don't want to diminish the value of efficiency gains and cost reduction. Those are really, really important to businesses, right? But fully committing to a customer-centric approach will be what allows businesses to truly differentiate and get the most value out of their AI investments. One interesting example that we actually like to talk about here, Pascal, is businesses trying to automate or augment conversations that probably didn't need to happen in the first place. Conversations that are sort of driven into the business by some problem that's upstream, whether that's in sort of a digital self-serve flow as customers are interacting with the website and something's broken, or a miscommunication about a promotion or a marketing campaign. We can use AI to actually discover these things and change them at the root cause versus spending the money to automate them or spending the money to augment human support in terms of dealing with them. So it's just yet another example of sort of the full spectrum of a strategy that is customer centric versus saying, let's just automate all of our problems away. But to your points and the three categories, I'm sure our audience is now wondering, how would you advise CX leaders to decide which conversations belong in each of those buckets that you so nicely laid out for us?
Yeah, so I like to use 4 filters for that. The first one is emotional complexity. If it's emotional, definitely you want more human in the loop. The
Mm-hmm.
strategic impact, same here, you want more people in the loop. The viability of the situation, same here. The level of judgment that is required. So using those 4 lenses, you can identify quickly the low complexity, high volume, rule-based tasks to be automated. I think password reset, order status, appointment scheduling, all those things that simple and
Right.
can be done very quickly and easily automated. The second is augmentation with high emotion, moderate complexity tasks. So basically, the agent decides, but AI provides real-time context, next best actions, sentiment signals,
Mm-hmm.
and finally we have the low volume, high relationship value. The brand defining, the high complexity, the strategic activities where AI supports. So AI removes the admin burden, and humans do what only humans can do.
Yep.
And in practice, based on what I've seen in the field, 60 to 70% of the CX volume can be automated.
Mm-hmm.
But the 30% that can't is really when very often 70% of the issue is found. And if you do it well,
Right.
this is where loyalty and revenue sits. So that's
Right.
so this
This is the
70,
new
30.
80/20.
Yes,
The
exactly.
70/30 rule,
Exactly.
as we'll call it.
Exactly.
Um,
And
yeah,
I like to say it even that imagine the world in 10 years from now. Everyone, because this is what we see, all models are converging. The difference between one
Right.
model to another or one technology to another, it's very minimal. But when all companies will be using the same AI, the difference will be in how those companies combine those AIs with their people. And I really
Yes.
believe the differentiation will be there on the market. And so
We
we
agree.
need to think now
We found
about this
another point that
technology.
we agree on, Pascal. No, that is spot on. And we actually see sort of a similar percentage breakdown, both in terms of what our customers are achieving and in terms of thinking about it from a strategic point of view and looking at the conversations themselves and sort of which conversations fall into these types of categories. It is sort of that 60 to 70% that falls into the automation category. One thing I just would love to add there, I don't want to diminish the impact that successfully automating that 60 to 70% can have on the customer experience, right? Like suddenly these problems are a lot faster and more convenient to solve. Again, if you're getting the automation right. AI agents, they're available 24/7. There's no wait time. They're infinitely scalable, theoretically, right? And they just open up this opportunity to be more proactive in the way that businesses can engage with customers because they're much less cost constrained than a fully human operation. And none of that is to even mention the fact that they have memory of prior conversations. They can use customer context and data in interesting ways that are challenging for humans to do, frankly, to personalize interactions in a way that actually adds value. But all of that said, if God forbid my house burns down or a family member is sick or my identity is stolen, I'm going to seek out a human, and I'm going to seek out that clarity and compassion and sort of the ability to understand me and my unique situation that only a human can offer. And so I think you're spot on. The nature of that remaining 30% is where the margin lives and where the really sort of high leverage lives in differentiating. And I think that's why you've written extensively about how the human work will evolve as AI gets better and better. So what does that evolution look like for human customer service agents?
I like to talk about the 3 competencies of the future, which are basically the 3 competencies that every person needs to thrive alongside AI in our future. And I've really, I mean, it's part of the book Irreplaceable that was published 2 years ago. And I was really, I worked with universities, when I researched all this, I was really thinking about my team members, about my kids as well. We see AI evolving so quickly and skills that we thought were uniquely human being taken away in a way by AI. So the key question is, what are the skills that we need to build now to be relevant in the future? We identified 3 skills that we need to help our people to build, and we need to build ourselves. The first one is being change ready. Change ready, quite easy to understand. It's about building adaptability and resilience to a whole new level. We see that change is happening faster at a higher magnitude, and we need to be ready for that. And building resilience and adaptability is something that we know how to do. There are a lot of books on that, and we need to be stronger on that. The second is about being AI ready. AI ready means knowing how to collaborate with AI agents, reading their outputs critically, prompting them efficiently. So basically, using AI the right way to get all the benefits from it while mitigating from the issues, the potential dangers from it.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one is the third of the 3 competencies of the future is being human ready. And that's the most important and the most underinvested of those 3 competencies. What it means is deliberately developing the abilities that AI cannot replicate. And those abilities, we call them the Humix, for uniquely human abilities.
Yes. And so what my next question is going to be, Pascal. What are the Humics and why do they matter so much in this context, particularly in this context of customer experience?
Exactly. So the principle is to focus on building and developing the abilities that AI will never be able to achieve as well as we do. as well as authentically as we do as humans. We identified 3 of those uniquely human abilities. The first one is creativity. Like, okay, not the creativity that you can see in VO or whatever, or poems that ChatGPT can do for you. The real creativity that comes from originality, that comes from our personality, our life history about.
Right.
These are in customer experience. That's the creativity that gives us the ability to find a solution that is not in the playbook.
Right.
I mean, the human agent that turns a stranded holiday traveler into a loyal customer just for life. For example, rerouting, flights of a family who needs to attend a wedding urgently and finding the solution. So going
Right.
beyond what a machine can find and what we would find as
Right.
in the routine work.
Without that, you're almost automating to the average, right? And this is why we are so against
Exactly.
like a purely scripted approach, even when we're talking about providing guidance to humans using AI, because what really makes your best people stand out is that creativity. They discover things that you don't know yet as a business, and AI can help replicate those things and build that competency across a broader base of people or even within an AI agent. But we need to allow that room for creativity because that raises the ceiling.
Exactly. And the creativity that is generated by AI is just a mix and match of existing data. There is nothing new created.
Right.
Originality and creating with an originality is something that is uniquely human. So basically, we will, in the creativity realm, we will use AI to do those creative commodities, things that are basic, but we will keep. I mean, only humans can do the original creativity.
Right.
That is based on emotions, on life stories, on personalities, and so on.
Right.
The second of the Humix is critical thinking. Critical thinking is knowing when the AI, for example, in the CX realm, when the AI recommendation is technically correct, but contextually wrong. I mean, offering a discount when the customer actually needs an apology, not a discount.
Right.
Okay, so it's also about critically review the outcome of what AI is giving to us. It's also thinking about ethics. Ethics is something that only humans can build.
Right.
And finally, the 3 of the Humix is human connections. This is something that, I mean, between humans, we authentically understand each other. We have a human level understanding that no chatbot or no agent can replicate at the level a customer can feel. Okay, and so, for example, the human agent who picks up the tremor in someone's voice and changes the entire approach based on that. So those 3 uniquely human abilities, again, creativity, critical thinking, human connection. These are measurable capabilities that are
Right.
directly connected to revenue, to retention impact. And the good news for all of us is we were all born with these abilities. They are the abilities that make us uniquely human, that help us to create the highest value with AI. And there are no limits to which extent we can develop them as humans.
Yeah. And developing them becomes even more important if we shift from humans handling every interaction, including those simple ones where maybe the Humix are less important than just, getting a simple solution done as quickly as possible. And we shift that to 100% of the interactions that humans are handling are more complex, more emotionally charged, your highest value customers. The Humix just start to stand out even more. And so I think it's a great framework to think about how the human agent role will evolve and also how the skill set will evolve. And actually, the core skill set that you should be thinking about hiring for will become increasingly important as automation increases. And so we've talked a little bit about how that human agent role will evolve, but that's not the only role involved in a contact center, in a large-scale CX operation. What are some of the new roles that you see emerging that are sort of built around supporting this hybrid workforce that we're talking about?
So, Devon, what we talked about with the Humix is how every roles in the company will evolve the right way, and how we can make them evolve to make them always relevant, basically. But on top of this, we need to add some new roles. in the company because of AI, and to make sure we get all the impact, the business impact we can expect from AI.
Right.
The first of those roles is what I call the AI orchestrator. Basically, someone who owns the allocation of work between humans and AI, that who monitors systems performance, who manages the handoff quality. So basically, a role that didn't exist 1 year ago, and that is really ramping up on the transformations that I help.
Mhm.
Another one, just top of mind, the change enablement lead. So we've seen change management in all the transformations over decades. But this one is different. It's really about helping the workforce continuously adapt to the AI stack that evolves.
Right.
We are in constant transformation. So we need, while we used to need some change managers for one-off projects, that's finished. Now we need someone who has a constant role in the company and who manages constantly this adaptation of the workforce, the human workforce, and AI workforce. Um, yeah, so none of these roles appear naturally, but
Right.
CX leaders
Well,
need to design them intentionally. I think it's very important to think about it right now.
agreed. And I think in our own customer base, we're seeing some of the most forward-thinking companies already start to think about how do we develop talent for these roles? What are the profiles that we need to look for and the skill sets for these roles? And I want to double click on one of them just quickly, that the concept of the AI orchestrator is really interesting. And there's a variety of views we've seen in our customer base in terms of the right way to develop for that role. But one example, and one that I really like, is our customer Brinks Home, who views this as a natural next step for their most tenured, their most high-performing human agents who have a lot of domain expertise in the business, and they've proven themselves as trustworthy. This is a next step for them to become more of an AI operator. And so one of the things that we've built into our system is something called the Agent Operations Center, which enables an AI orchestrator, or as we're sort of colloquially calling it, an AI supervisor, to oversee live AI agent conversations, AI-led conversations at scale, and actually intervene without necessarily explicitly taking over. Right? It's using a variety of signals like sentiment and emotion, business logic, approvals, to flag the conversations that need more of that direct supervision and enable the AI agents to actually ask human supervisors for live guidance in certain scenarios where they need a binary approval for an exception or something that we just don't fully trust the AI to make the gray area decision yet. The AI supervisor, these tenured human agents that have that judgment and that creativity, can make the decision without having to take over and break containment of the conversation. They're essentially steering conversations back on track. And I think there's a lot of benefits, right? It can de-risk automating a wider subset of conversations, like something in that sort of business area of home services. Rolling a truck is a very expensive thing to do, right? And so we want a human to approve when we're ready to actually roll a truck and do an on-site survey and actually, put humans on the ground. And so we would love to have AI agents handle those conversations, but that decision point, we still want a human to just make the approval. And this is just one example of something that this system can do to de-risk things and also improve both containment and the end customer satisfaction. And so that concept kind of segues nicely into my next question for you, Pascal, which is, what are some of the governance challenges that CX leaders haven't fully reckoned with yet in managing a hybrid workforce? I gave one example of how we're thinking about layers of governance that maybe didn't exist before, but what are some of the ones that you've been experiencing and advising your clients around?
Yes, I think the most critical one that all companies fall into is accountability.
Mm,
When an AI makes a decision that harms a customer or violates a regulation, who owns the agent? And
mhm.
this question, it's not, you shouldn't ask this question when the issue happened. It should be planned ahead. You should have the answer before
Right.
that. And the answer is always the same. It's a human. It's a human behind that. But who is that? And then you need to define it before anything happens, before you even put into production anything. I think that's the most important one. But then, let's talk about quality assurance.
Mhm.
Um, we used to have QA built for humans handling 40 calls per day.
Yep.
But AI handles thousands. So what do? We can't supervise. We can't review the same way as we used to review.
Right.
So we need statistical processes to control all this. Random sampling is not enough anymore, and so we need to adjust that, and that's part of the overall system that an orchestrator should put in place.
Yeah.
Bias monitoring is another one. Another one that I think is so important in governance and that touches to the performance as well of AI is collecting the mistakes, the errors, the basically areas for improvements, justification of areas of improvements of AI agents, so that you can improve them in time and improve the service, improve the performance.
And Pascal, this is an interesting point I just want to very quickly double click on. I see a lot of marketing out there these days about self-improving AI, self-improving systems. And to me, it's actually a little bit of a red flag that the vendor doesn't really know what they're talking about or hasn't deployed these systems at scale into production. We fundamentally believe that a human should be in the loop for what you're describing. Talk a little bit about that. Why
yeah, exactly.
Can we cut through the noise of self-improving AI here once and for all, definitively, from Pascal Bornet?
Yes, I mean, in a world where services are delivered to humans, we need to have humans say what is good service or what is bad service. An agent is not able to say that. So how can you tell an agent? I mean, how can you think an agent can think by itself that what it did was the right thing? Only us humans can flag it, can say that was good, that was not good. If you let the AI try to auto evaluate, what is the AI going to use as a criteria?
Yeah, and I mean that's we've put a lot of R&D focus into that, right? It's like we want to give tools to humans to do that testing and evaluation at a much greater scale than they could do alone. But ultimately, the onus is still on them. And so we use things like simulated customers and at scale simulations based on real human conversations. We use expert aligned LLM judges. So AI that's evaluating AI, but deeply aligned to human expert point of view before we put that out in the wild, and the results still reviewed by humans. So these are just some of the examples of systems where AI can help us scale that human judgment, but it shouldn't replace that human judgment.
Yes, and even to give a striking image, that would be the same thing as thinking that a kid could learn the world by itself without being helped by adults. That's exactly the same thing. Okay, it's how can someone be educated in our world, knowing what is good, what is bad, knowing what is understanding life and learning without being guided? You need it.
I'm smiling as the father of a 1.5-year-old. That is a very evocative example for me personally. Pascal, jumping forward a little bit, a couple of the things you're already touching upon here sort of fall into this idea of AI readiness. Not fundamentally AI technology, but business readiness, like understanding who's responsible and defining some of those governance models in advance. Can you double click on that and go a little bit deeper? What does AI readiness actually mean? How should leaders think about it?
Yes, I think it's AI readiness. It's the organizational capability to deploy, scale, and continuously improve AI systems while maintaining trust and delivering high value. Those are the key words. But 4 dimensions that I like to talk about. The first one is process readiness. So you cannot automate chaos. I mean, AI amplifies whatever exists. So if you try to automate a poor process, you're going to have an extremely automated poor process. That's it.
Yes.
Okay? So yeah, clean all this, optimize all those processes. I like to really work on those processes from scratch, redefine them, because now you have 2 resources working together. humans first, and then
Mhm.
AI, and how you make those resources work together to avoid bottlenecks, to make it work the best, to learn by itself, and so on. It really, you need to recreate those processes. The second is data readiness. We often talk about it, but that's so important. I mean, I've seen clients doing everything right, but if your data is not the right, is not clean, is not accessible, is not unified, and especially in CX, unified customer data is so important. I mean, if you can't answer instantly the question, what was this customer's last interaction? If you can't answer this question across all channels, you're not data ready. Okay, so it's really
Yep.
about technology readiness. I mean, like cloud-based. We've all learned about the importance of APIs with
Yes.
agents coming in. So legacy infrastructure is always a big issue, and yeah, leveling up all this is very important. And finally, and most importantly, I think, organizational readiness, leadership commitment, change management, AI literacy. We talk a lot about this, and I think but yeah, I think we always invest in those.
Yep.
I like to say that whatever the budget you put in technology, put the same budget in helping people, in change management, education,
Yeah.
empowerment of people. That's critical.
And pick partners to work with that have points of view on these topics and can help guide you through these topics based on experience with other customers that have already been through it. Right. I think that's something that we pride ourselves on in terms of, not just selling a technology or software, but being a true transformation partner. That's what it means, is knowing some of these paths and pitfalls and really helping guiding customers through it. Pascal, we are coming up on time for sort of our core content here. I think we have time for one more question before we get into some audience Q&A and give our audience the opportunity to see a demo of some of the things we've talked about in action. So just if you could speak directly to our audience here today, what is your practical advice for a CX leader who wants to build genuine AI readiness in 2026? What should they be doing right now?
I think it starts first by understanding where you are. So honest assessment across the 4 dimensions I mentioned before: data, process, technology, organization, and maybe score yourself on a scale of 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. And based on my experience, most organizations are surprised by how they score poorly on data and organization. Fix your data. Unified customer data platform, especially in CX, is I mean, you can't negotiate. That's so important. Begin with augmentation, not automation. So before you think this process could be automated, let's have some people in the team work together very closely on a co-intelligent work, or co-pilot work with AI, and have the AI recommend actions to be done, and have the human validate that the AI is doing well, and after that, think of when the trust is there, automate it. Okay.
Sure.
Invest in change management. Success metrics are so important. I mean, very often in such an AI transformation, we will think about AI or automation metrics, like number of automations, number of errors done by the AI, and so on and so on. That's not the most important. The most important is the outcome of the overall system that is combined humans and AI, and those ones are the ones that have been driving CX business forever: customer satisfaction, resolution quality, customer lifetime value impact. That's what really matters.
Yep.
That's where the value lies.
That point resonates so much with me. I think we hear a lot of customers and potential customers come to us and be just hyper focused on containment, right? What percentage of conversations can the AI successfully contain? And it is really important, right? It is very, very important. It is a measure of success to some extent, but there are so many more dimensions to success, like those that you mentioned, customer
That's a meme.
satisfaction. Did you
That's a
contain them
meme.
because they got frustrated and hung up, or because you successfully resolved the issue, right? So,
Yes.
yeah. Okay. Well, I really appreciate the advice, Pascal. Really practical, actionable advice, and grounded in where we are today. So thank you for that. This has been a really insightful discussion. I deeply appreciate your point of view and the time that you've taken to share it with our audience today. But the questions are coming in, folks. Please continue to submit questions if you have them. But with that, let's jump right in. Pascal, this question says, when frontline associates are anxious about AI, whether they can't yet articulate why or aren't ready to engage with those fears, what questions or talking points have you found most effective in helping them reflect on that and move forward?
Very important question, because I think it's, again, we should start with the humans. That's the only way to have the AI right. First thing that comes top of mind is bring them part of the designers of the solution. And a design is always an answer to a problem. So let's have them write down their issues. What are the issues, the pain points that they have currently? Everyone has pain points. I can tell you, everyone. You can't end up with a blank page when you ask this question. So an ideation, I would start with an ideation discussion, put them around the table, and have them agree on the key pain points they have. When we start with this and tell them we will solve those issues, we start in the right position. So that's the first thing to do. Then yeah, I mean, put an answer to each of those problems. And by the way, all the problems won't be answered by AI. And that's a great thing as well. You touch the system, you solve the system in its wholeness. Completely. I mean, like, you're not talking just about technology, but really about the overall system. So yeah, in some of the points, AI will be the solution. Some other points is going to be organizational. It's going to be this systems. It's going to be a process. It's going to be okay. And for anything that is about AI, because this is the topic, have them to understand what. I mean, I like to talk about the 4 key things that we need to do to get it right with people. The first one is information. So it's about telling people AI is coming to help us. It is coming, and what does it mean for you? So is it going to be a change of role? Is it going to be how are you going to be affected? Okay, and being very transparent from the beginning is so important, because I've seen key talents leaving teams just because the announcement came, AI is coming, and they thought, okay, I'm going to be redundant. I prefer to send my resume to the competitor, and when this is done, this is too late. They leave. Okay, so information. Second is education. Get them to understand how those systems work, how to design them, how to use them. The third one is empowerment. Give them the capacity to access them, and to access them in their day-to-day work. It shouldn't be a pain to go to another place, another tool, we should remove the friction as much as possible. It is part of their work. It should be embedded within their work, within their environment. And the fourth and very important one is incentivizing. It's about, you want to drive the right behavior. You want people to sometimes try to automate and fail. And you want to reward them for that. That's the only way. I mean, everything is, I mean, all those technologies are progressing so fast that you can't train your people in classrooms anymore, because the time the classroom is done, you already
need to get hands-on.
It's already obsolete. So it's about really, instead of giving people fish, tell them how to fish. So tell them how they can keep themselves regularly updated with what's happening. And this means identifying the technologies that can help them in their work, trying them. Hands-on is nothing better than hands-on. and then use them. Okay, so
It's wonderful how
that's
the
critical.
teaching
And
someone to fish analogy never goes
yes,
away, even in the age of
and
AI.
yes, and what I do with my teams and what I advise the companies I help is 20 to 30% of the time of your teams should be let free so that they can do that. They can spend time to educate. To observe what's happening, understand what are the new
Right.
systems, try them, and so on and so on.
Such a thorough and thoughtful answer. Thank you so much, Pascal. I think we probably have time for one or two more questions. Amanda is going to keep me honest here and interject if we do run low on time. But there's some really good ones in here. So the next question from our audience is, how are you measuring the irreplaceable human characteristics discussed when you talked about Humix? They listed off the creativity, the critical thinking, human connection. How are we measuring those inside CX teams? Are there any leading indicators that you've seen work best for that?
That's a great question, because that's not that for those type of abilities, we won't have the measurable type of criteria and metrics. It won't be quantitative, basically. It will be more qualitative. And I think so each of them are very different. So let's take creativity, and really creativity in CX is about how do you solve the most complex problems that arise from our clients. And you might be super prepared. You can't know all the cases that will happen. It's not possible. Okay, that's so it's really about, and when someone in the team solves an issue that has never been seen before, a case from a client, like again, I like to take this example of a wedding, someone flying to a wedding and the flight has been canceled, and this person is meeting difficulties, and you come as an agent, you want to solve the problem. You will try different options of routes and things, and probably even go to another airline to see if you can or not buy a ticket for this person, or exchange, or like that. The extent of the possibilities is crazy, and only us humans can really think about all those potentials. And so metrics has to be qualitative. So it's going to be, there are not so many of those cases.
Right.
List all those cases. How did you reply to that? How many of those you had? How you replied to those, and have them discussed in around the table with the team. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. And it makes me think of something. I mean, we obviously do some automation of the quality evaluation process within customer experience operations and contact centers. And AI is quite good at automating that evaluation for somewhere between 70 and 80% of what you would want to evaluate on. But similar to your other frameworks, there's that remaining 20% that are really the Humix, and AI cannot evaluate those things. So even that role, and making sure that the supervisors and the folks that you have in your quality analysis team have the Humix and have good insight into what they look like and what good looks like in these areas that are much harder to quantify and much harder or next to impossible for AI to evaluate, are able to do so. And so you can add some of that rigor just through that existing process as well. Okay, I think we have time for one more question, Amanda, or do we need to cut it here? You let me know.
I think we could do one more question. I feel like the voice of God
Excellent.
right now.
Okay, the voice of God, Amanda. One more question, Pascal. These have been really great, and great questions, by the way, folks. If we don't get to your question, I do apologize. We will try and do our best to follow up on these as well. So the last question here is: implementation with users, or said otherwise, adoption, seems to be one of the hardest hurdles to overcome in enterprise AI. Do you have any recommendations or insights on best practices to improve implementation and make it successful?
Very interesting. When I hear implementation with users, I think of citizen developers and the user-friendly development tools that you can find on the market that are, Lego bricks that you put the one on close to the other. That can
Interesting.
be, those systems that can be used by anyone without any coding skills or any programming skills.
I
So
interpreted this as adoption from end users of, real-time guidance and agent assist, or some of the AI tools that we're putting in front of humans. So that's interesting. You had a different interpretation of this question than I did.
Yeah, okay. No, okay. It depends of your definition of users. For me, the users were the people in the CX team
Okay,
serving
got it.
and you were more
Continue then, please.
end clients.
Fair enough. So how would you answer that
Uh,
question then, I guess, in that context? Apologies, I threw you off.
no,
There with my interpretation.
No, because and that's a very important question. When one of the answer to deploy at scale and quickly those systems those AI systems in companies is to allow everyone in the company to build their own systems. And even if they are not coders and programmers, they can do it with those very user-friendly tools. The great thing is, because you have more hands, everyone can do it. You go faster, you go at scale. But the downside is, when everyone can do everything they want, it can become so messy. Okay, you'll have shadow AI, shadow tech everywhere, and redundancies. People will redo things that have already been done by others, and so on. So the great thing here is about leveraging the fact that a lot of people want to use AI, want to build their own agents, and so on. Leverage this great trend and great energy, but canalize it.
Right.
Use a strong governance organization around this, with champions in the teams that are the experts and that help the users build their own systems, and having kind of a center of excellence or an automation or the AI center that centralize all those newly created automations and
Right.
standardizes them and then diffuses them back to the people.
It's great advice, and it's something that I think our most successful customers have really bought into, is building that center of excellence around the technology and ensuring that there is centralized strategy, centralized governance, and then allowing people to do what they know best. So Pascal, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate your time, the insightful point of view that you've shared, and I've just thoroughly enjoyed this discussion. So from me, I deeply appreciate it. Thank you to our audience as well for taking the time to sit with us today. Pass it back to Amanda just for a last few closing housekeeping items.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Devin and Pascal. Pascal, as Devin said, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your insights and perspective on what it takes to build a CX hybrid workforce. So we truly appreciate your time and your expertise. And thank you to everyone who joined us. We're grateful that you spent part of your day with us. And as a reminder, you'll receive all the session material so you can watch on demand or share with your colleagues who may have missed it today. And of course, if you'd like to learn more about Cresta and how we help CX organizations turn every conversation into a competitive advantage, you can explore the resources or request a conversation with our team at any time. Thank you again so much for joining this Fireside Chat with Pascal Bornet, and we hope you all have a wonderful day. Take care.